Back approximately 1 a.m. to pick up their cars from their charter flight that arrived at Newark Airport. There were people playing football in the parking lots at Giant Stadium. A lot of the people here were not even born the last time the Giants won a National Football League championship in 1956. There will be politicians on hand. Rare is the politician who misses a chance to be at a celebration like this, and a lot of fans, many of whom were not at Super Bowl 21, and I'm sure a number of them who made the trek back from the coast and have gone to the celebration. The team has arrived. Most of the team will be there, minus those Giants who will be in the Pro Bowl next week in Honolulu. Phil Simms, the MVP, slightly to the right of your picture. 22 of 25 passing of the Super Bowl. 13 degrees, the last weather report. A number of the team will be giving the traditional speeches. The governor is on hand. One politician conspicuous by his absence, His Honor, the mayor of New York City, Edward Koch. He is in Poland. $650,000 raised from private corporate sources to pay for this celebration. Phil McConkey with the shaker, the punt returner, wide receiver, former Navy helicopter pilot. The Giants, a franchise that knew incredible glory late in the 50s, early into the 60s, a franchise to which you cannot get a ticket. Traditionally, every game sold out season tickets. Years to get on the waiting list. Every game a sellout. Through the lean years of the late 60s and the 70s, the infamous fumble against the Philadelphia Eagles in 1978. And Sunday, their greatest hour. Bill Parcells, the head coach. Odds are he will stay dry today, unless someone has a Gatorade surprise planned for him this afternoon. The fans of Giant Stadium, as they came in, were provided kazoos. There will be a kazoo salute. Gentleman in the hat to the left talking to Coach Parcells, Tom Kane. I believe that's the governor. Fireworks in the crowd. Special buses were put on by New Jersey Transit to get fans to this game. The weather has certainly kept the size of the celebration down. The stadium seats approximately 76,000 people. And the floor of the stadium, as we said, was open up to additional fans. And this is in New Jersey. That a major sticking point with Mayor Ed Koch of New York, who at one point, and that's the state flag of New Jersey that is flying next to Old Glory. Mayor Koch at one point called us a foreign team. He wouldn't pay for a ticker tape celebration in Wall Street. So the Giants said, we'll have it at our stadium, thank you. And very shortly, the festivities at the podium will be getting underway. Penny Youngman has been entertaining this crowd. Lou Albano, the infamous professional wrestling figure, was on hand. Joe Piscopo, who has made a large part of his career out of the New Jersey shtick, was on hand as well. The Giants play in New Jersey. They took the NY logo off their helmet several years ago. Giant Stadium opened in 1976. It has been the home to championship soccer teams with the Cosmos. The late lamented New York Generals of the USFL played there. The Giants came there in 76 after a long odyssey from Yankee Stadium, originally playing at the Polo Grounds, at Shea Stadium for a while, then the Yale Bowl. And always their fans would follow them wherever they would play. It was a massive undertaking by the stadium crew to plow and shovel and clear all the snow out of Giant Stadium. The Northeast has been inundated. And left-hand side of your picture, you see Senator Bill Bradley on the podium, who was on hand, who played on a championship team, 2 of them with the New York Knicks in 1970 and 73. What you're roughly seeing is a reception line through the morass on the podium. And eventually, as those team members who are there, some of them with their children, obviously, as they make the reception line and shake the obligatory hands, there is the governor standing next to Senator Bradley. Let me correct myself. That's Governor Tom Kean there as well. They will make their way to their seats, and then we will have the speech making. And as we said, the kazoos were provided to the crowd on hand, and there might even be an entry in the Guinness Book of World Records today. If 55,000 people take up their kazoos, the Guinness folks indicate it will be a new mass kazooing record to go along with the Super Bowl championship. That temporarily, we have lost our audio feed. Obviously, we still have the picture. As the Giants have arrived home, back to their home stadium, their greatest moment of glory, that victory, 39-20 over the Denver Broncos at Pasadena. Giant Stadium, 76,891 seats. It's tough to ascertain exactly how many people are there. And obviously, the weather is a factor. And right now, the singing of our national anthem to begin this celebration. There is Senator Bradley, Governor Kean to his left, your right. Tom Kean, a Republican, Bill Bradley, a Democrat. But as we said, those labels blur when they have a chance to be part of these celebrations. Tom Kean, best known perhaps as the politician who has helped New Jersey shape a self-image around the media campaign that has involved the success of the Meadowlands and the Giants football team. Giants with a convincing victory. In fact, one of the reports earlier today from Giant Stadium had the people outside singing "California, Here We Come." That may be the number that they elect to sing on the kazoo with the kazoos with Super Bowl 22 in California next year. Gentlemen, to the right on your screen of Governor Kean is Wellington Mara, the owner, one of the owners of the Giants. The Giant ownership situation extremely muddled. Wellington Mara and his nephew Tim, 50% owners, they have not spoken in 8 years. And they are Super Bowl champions. Again, we're working to correct the audio feed difficulties from Giant Stadium, and we'll stick with our picture portion as long as is feasible. And now the official portion of the show is getting underway. We understand Governor Kean will be presenting gold medallions to the Giants in recognition of their accomplishment. There have been musical groups entertaining. As we said, it began after midnight. The doors opened at approximately 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, about 2,000 people already were on hand to make their way through the gates. Giant Stadium is located on Route 3 in the New Jersey Turnpike in New Jersey, approximately 7 or 8 miles from the Lincoln Tunnel. It may not seem much to those not familiar with the tri-state New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, but identity-wise, it is a large gap to be on the west side of the Hudson River, and the state of New Jersey is making the most of this opportunity. As we said, Mayor Koch is on a trip to Poland. He joked before he laughed, Mayor Ed Koch did, that he would try and listen to Polish underground radio and hear the Super Bowl. Andrew Stein, the New York City Council president, is the lone New York City politician who has been delegated to pay homage to the Giants at this celebration. Now we have our audio feedback. Let's go to the podium and listen in as the Giants celebrate their finest hour.
You know, if somebody from outer space were to come and turn on.
Well, we do have an audio problem right there as we are having a little transmission difficulty. And now Governor Tom Kean. And again, we apologize. Governor Kean, who won a convincing second term in the last general election, has been mentioned as vice presidential and presidential timber as well, possibly. He was at the game, made his way west, had the requisite bets, as all politicians do at these times of national championship games, the World Series, the Super Bowl, and whatnot. And he'll have his chance to collect on all the bets he has made with the folks in Colorado and Denver. Security is evident. State police early today saying the basic problem was just crowd control because everyone would be in a boisterous good mood, and I can attest to that, having flown in with some Giant fans last night from Chicago. They still were celebrating every last moment of this. And also hypothermia, an actual concern about the effects of the bitter cold. The Meadowlands of New Jersey exposed. There always is a swirling wind inside Giant Stadium because it is out there in the Meadowlands and nothing to break the wind. The wind chill is well below zero at this celebration. Again, we are working to rectify our audio difficulties. As the Giants, Les Unger there to the left stepping in, the head of the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, a major figure in running the operation there at the Meadowlands. And Governor Kane with some more remarks. Again, we are feverishly working on getting our audio difficulties squared away so you will be able to hear the remarks. Again, the coach or the players have not yet made their remarks. And again, Governor Tom Kane is sort of serving as the master of ceremonies in the big stadium, which is filled at least at ground level, and as you can see well behind the podium, folks in some of the seats on the lower level who have filed in on a very cold day in New Jersey. Special buses and trains were put on, and the celebrations that began in the tri-state area with the Giant celebration late Sunday night continued through Monday, now reaching their peak on Tuesday. And depending upon how many people are there, I think the entire celebration will be confined within Giant Stadium. There had been some talk of perhaps taking a bit of a motorcade outside. I think the weather has kept it to such a manageable number that the Giants may just take a victory lap, if that's possible, because there are other people on the ground level. There had been talk of American Express willing to come forward with the money to finance a ticker tape parade. The gentleman now stepping up to the podium, Wellington Mara, principal owner of the New York Football Giants. His father bought the team. His father, a bookmaker back in the 20s, and bought the team for less than $1,000. And Wellington Mara, his family, one of the old families in the National Football League, who has known the glory of the late 50s and the early 60s and the trauma of the 60s and 70s. And again, the irony of the family split between Wellington Mara and his nephew Tim. They each own 50% of the team. They could not agree on the selection of a general manager in the early 80s, late 70s. They, in fact, put it to Pete Rozelle to mediate their dispute. And finally, they were able to agree on George Young as general manager of this football team, which was the biggest decision, really, that they made, the Giant organization. George Young hired Ray Perkins. Then Bill Parcells promoted from Perkins' staff when Perkins took the Alabama college job. And out of that indecision on a general manager, George Young hiring the coaches and then making the draft selections that have culminated in this 39-20 Super Bowl victory. 31 years of waiting from 1956 to 1987. And again, if you've just joined us, you're watching live from Giant Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. A Sports Center special report, the Giants' victory celebration. Obviously, we're having audio difficulties, and quite obviously, you can imagine we are scurrying to get these problems rectified with Wellington Mara at the podium and most of the players on hand. We said the Giants have been very fairly represented and will be at the Pro Bowl this year. Offensive lineman Jim Burt, LT Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson, Brad Benson, running back Joe Morris, the silent and very deadly and effective tight end Mark Bovaro, Sean Lendet of the punter, and Leonard Marshall from the defensive line. Those 8 gentlemen have been named to the Pro Bowl, and rather than do essentially a 12,000-mile U-turn, they stayed in California. They had actually now departed for Hawaii from Pasadena, from LAX. So they are not at this celebration. But the other 37 members of the team and those on injured reserve and the coaching staffs, head coach Bill Parcells, and the entire entourage and families are on hand for this celebration. Wellington Mara was a fixture this past summer at the National Football League antitrust trial. There's Bill Bradley to the right of your screen, senior senator from the state of New Jersey, and as every fan of sports knows, a 70 and 73 veteran of the New York Knicks teams that won NBA championships. He was talking earlier about the human qualities of championship teams, and he wrote about it very eloquently in his book, Life on the Run. Bradley, a leader in the tax reform movement, in international trade, one of his specialties. But today, football is the topic at Giant Stadium. As more and more of the crowd seem to be gathering on the ground level around this raised podium at one end of the stadium on this bitterly cold day. We're going going to step aside for just a moment as we work on our audio difficulties. And as we come back, we will then return to Giant Stadium and hopefully give you an opportunity to listen in on a Giant celebration.
What product would your doctor recommend for sore lip problems? Doctors most often recommend Blistex lip ointment. Blistex penetrates the source of pain, medicates to relieve inflamed nerves, stimulates healing of damaged tissues. At first sign of pain or cold sore, reach for the product that doctors recommend most. Blistex lip ointment penetrates, medicates, stimulates healing. Use Blistex and your sore lips could be healing now. Blistex.
What do you know?
Cranberries, raspberries, together, that's what.
Do what do you know?
Cran raspberry.
With whatever we do.
You, what do you know?
Raspberry cranberry drink.
For you.
No, what do you know?
It's good for you. The unique cranberry has essential things your body needs. And it's
Ocean Spray.
That's all I need to know.
And wait till you taste it.
What do you know?
Cran raspberry. It's good for you, America, from Ocean Spray.
We have audio now. The master of ceremonies, Jim Gordon, veteran broadcaster and the radio voice of the Giants. And now let's listen in. The presentation of medallions
of the running backs,
from
Ray
Governor Kane.
Handley. Offensive line coach, Fred Hoagland. The coach of the receivers, Pat Hodson. Defensive line coach, Lamar Leachman. Strength and conditioning coach, Johnny Parker. The coach of the tight ends of the Giants, Mike Polk. Assistant special teams coach, Mike Sweatman. And two of the longtime trainers of the Giants, Johnny Ziegel and John Johnson.
The coaching staff receiving their medallions. Jim Gordon officiating as Governor Kane makes the presentation. Not exactly sure what the medallions are.
Getting ready for the Pro Bowl. A few others
Obviously specially struck for the occasion, the Super Bowl victory
and we're
of
going
the
to meet
Giants.
them man by man. Ladies and gentlemen,
Now the team.
Raul Allegre. Otis Anderson.
Anderson came over from the Cardinals in a trade early in the season.
Jersey's Billiard. Carl Banks following Billiard.
Outstanding linebacker. Giants with the best linebackers in pro ball.
Meet Maurice Carthon.
Carthon played in the stadium with the New Jersey Generals in the backfield with Herschel Walker at one
And
time.
Tom Flynn.
Tom Flynn came over from the Green Bay Packers in a late season addition when Terry
Tony
Kennard was
Galbraith.
injured. Tony Galbraith, veteran running back.
Chris Godfrey, number 61. Give a cheer to Andy Hedden. And Kenny Hill. Ladies and gentlemen, Byron Hunt. And Damian Johnson. Number 52, Pepper Johnson.
Pepper Johnson, a team leader in the enthusiasm category.
Brian Johnston.
Each of the players will receive their medallion.
Greg Lasker.
With the exception of those 8 Pro Bowl players are on their way to Hawaii.
Bill McConkey.
The harder you hit him, the more he bounces up. Bill
And
McConkey.
Zeke Moat.
Tight end Zeke Moat.
Let Carl Nelson hear it. Carl Nelson. And Bart Oates.
Bart Oates. Towering over the
Number
dignitaries.
34, Elvis Patterson.
They used to call Elvis Patterson Toast because he got burned on the cornerback's position. No more.
Gary Reasons. Number 66, William Roberts. Stacy Robinson.
Jerome Salley makes his way as the parade of Giant players continues. Temporarily lost the feed exactly from the podium, but we have the ambient sound from within the arena. Jim Gordon, player by player, they make their way past Governor Kane, Senator Bradley, Andrew Stein, City Council President of New York. Now the acknowledgement of the Giants who have been named to the Pro Bowl, who are not on hand, as we said again: Jim Burt, Lawrence Taylor, Harry Carson, Brad Benson, Joe Morris, Mark Rivaro, Hunter Sean Landetta, and Leonard Marshall. Now on the large matrix board at one end of the stadium, they apparently are playing a recorded acknowledgement from several of those players to the crowd on hand. Either end of the stadium. Giant Stadium, one of the first stadia to have message boards that also could give replays, and now on one of those boards at either end, a message being played. I don't believe we're quite able to show you that message from our one camera location. I believe that is LT, Lawrence Taylor, in the recorded message, a man who was much in the national spotlight. And superlatives naturally flow at Super Bowl time. Hyperbole is the currency of Super Bowl week. And Taylor was being called the greatest defensive player in the game. Some even added the word ever to that phrase. Certainly, he was the best defensive player and the most impactful player this year in the National Football League. He was the MVP. And apparently several of the Pro Bowl Giants are making their statements. These remarks obviously videotaped in Pasadena in the flush of a Giant victory just prior to these players departing for the Pro Bowl, where it will be approximately 75 degrees warmer at Aloha Stadium in Honolulu. And the mercury will be lucky to break 20 today in New Jersey, and it's always very cool. Harry Carson with his message. You can see it. You're having, as we are, difficulty in hearing it. Carson, one of the very few holdovers from the era of the fumble. I believe that's Joe Morris. No, that's LT. I beg your pardon. That's LT. Lawrence Taylor. Yes, sir. I've been corrected by the crowd. Reality. What a concept. A line made famous by comedian Steve Martin. Very applicable to the Giants. So the Pro Bowl bound Giants pass on their videotaped greetings. We have yet to hear from any of the coaches of the players. We've heard from the governor, the presentation of the medallions on a bitterly cold, windy afternoon, but none of that seems to matter to the Giant fans. They are a special breed apart, having endured 2 decades of bad football, bad management decisions, bad trades, bad breaks, bad draft choices, and it all turned around in the late 70s, early 80s, culminating with a thumping of the Denver Broncos. We understand that our satellite transmission from Giant Stadium will be terminating in approximately 4 minutes, so I don't know if we will exactly be there, at which point the players will begin making their remarks and passing along their thoughts. I believe that is George Young, general manager, the architect of this giant juggernaut. We will stay with it until it goes down, the feed that is, so let's listen in if we can.
It would have a banner that would say, to dream an impossible dream. Our impossible dream was made possible by an outstanding coach in Bill Parcells, coaching staff, and great players. And then this is the Players' Day, and this is your day. Thank you very much.
Well, if they're following protocol and the organizational chart of the front office in the few minutes we have left, we may be hearing next from Bill Parcells, a New Jersey native. I don't see anybody over there. Now, LT's on the coast on his way to Hawaii. I don't see anybody in this picture who might have Gatorade lurking in the back. He may stay dry in this celebration. George Martin for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. As the elder statesman of your organization, I know that it has been 23 years for all of us to arrive at this destination. That is indeed a long journey. But I think when you review the Super Bowl trophy, the Vince Lombardi trophy, you will know that the feast is about to begin.
And we understand our feed will be extended the next additional half hour, so you'll be able to enjoy all the festivities in the podium.
And how to be champions. That lesson was long in coming, but we have learned it, and we have learned it well. And so I say to the Giant players of yesteryear, pass the torch to the Giants of today. Thank you.
Defensive end George Martin.
I know of no better example of how success is earned, how the big prizes are there for those people who are determined enough and strong enough and proud enough to take them. The man who led this team to the championship is one of those. He has outlasted the boos of the draftniks, the doubts of the media, has overcome major disabling injuries, and through it all, never ducked the critics, nor luckily for us, lost faith in himself. On Super Sunday, the 25th of January, 1987, a nice guy won for a change. The other quarterback was on the other team. Ladies and gentlemen, the most valuable player of the Super Bowl, Bill Sims.
Bill Sims, who endured the slings and arrows of the New York media and the second-guessers and the doubters for years, ever since being drafted out of Morehead State in Kentucky. And he answered it convincingly and emphatically yesterday, winning the Super Bowl Most Valuable Player Award, 22 of 25 passing, and the ultimate get-back to anyone who ever had a critical word for Phil Sims. And you get a feeling that a lot of these fans are saying, we're sorry we ever doubted you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know what cures 23 years of suffering, and that's a Super Bowl victory. And I want to thank everybody for being behind us all these years. And I hope sometime in the near future we can all get together and do this again. Thank you very much.
If you're tuning in for Getting Fit with Denise Austin, it will be preempted today, so we may bring you continuing live coverage from Giant Stadium of the Giant celebration.
Like you, he's a guy who sat in the stands and rooted for Giant teams. Like you, he has hoped for the future at times, for that magic season. And then this year, it all came together. Aside from the X's and the O's, for the strategies and the conditioning, the complicated things that are the basic building blocks of a football team, there's this thing called leadership. That rare ability to reach into another person or a group and show them the real qualities buried deep inside each one of them. He has done this better than any other coach I have ever seen. And since he is one of us, he has given each of us a little piece of this great day. Let us all thank Bill Parcells.
Thank you. This is a very emotional day for me and all these great players that I have up here. And you know, these players on the Giants have a special name for this place. When we come out of that tunnel every Sunday, they refer to this as our house. And you're our family, and we're grateful for the tremendous support that you've given us this year. And right now, to thank you, I have a little something to show you.
The Vince Lombardi Trophy. Not quite Gatorade, but the spirit was the same.
And now, it has already been announced that the next Super Bowl will be played in San Diego. I beg your pardon, in the stadium in San Diego.